Chase.
Hey everyone, we're around 24 hours once again from those the first snowflakes falling from that impactful winter storm that you just saw in that package. But taking a current look at what we're looking at over the next couple of days, as you can see, we do have those first alert weather days up from Saturday through at least Tuesday due to once again heavy winter precipitation, especially going into Saturday night and Sunday. And then after that, turning bitterly cold once again Tuesday, Monday, and Tuesday. As you can see, we could be looking at lows around -2 degrees waking up on Tuesday. So that snow's not going to go anywhere. Now, hazardous travel is expected, especially going into Sunday and early Monday morning. We could also be looking at some power outages, especially south of US 50, where they could be seeing some ice. Now, everyone is currently under a winter storm warning. That's from Saturday morning at 7 a.m. going into Monday at 7 as well. And everyone is also under a cold weather advisory for tonight. Our lows could be dipping to around 4 degrees with that wind chill making it feel like -5 degrees. Looking at our current radar, this is the system that we're watching. It's currently over Texas, and once again we'll be traveling around 1,275 miles to us here in the Middle Ohio Valley over the next couple of days. As you can see, lots of winter storm advisories up across the whole United States, stretching all the way from Texas up to the northeastern states. And as you can see, looking like once again a very impactful storm for everyone. So looking at futurecasts going throughout tonight, we're going to remain calm and dry, just with those clouds filtering into our area, and that snow doesn't really start to arrive until around 6 to 7 p.m. going into your Saturday evening. Now that snow is going to continue throughout Sunday morning. As you can see, it will be heavy at times, and then we're starting to watch this mixed line making its way closer to our area. That's where they could be seeing a little bit more warm air making its way, potentially leading to some freezing rain or sleet, making a very dicey travel conditions, especially off towards Clarksburg, down towards Ravenswood, as well as Roane County. And that line kind of gets pushed back off to the east going throughout the day Sunday. So most of us here in the Middle Ohio Valley once again remaining mainly snow, maybe some sleet here or there, but overall a snow event for us. And then continuing throughout the evening hours on Sunday before wrapping up early Monday morning. Should be out of here by the time we are waking up on Monday morning. So how much snow we're going to be looking at? Now, once again, this is the model that we were just looking at. It is on the higher side, but if this does verify, we could be looking at around a foot of snowfall for everyone here in the Middle Ohio Valley. Once again, I do believe this is on the high end. We're looking at general 10 to 12 plus inches here for all of us here in the Middle Ohio Valley, and a little bit less snowfall, especially where we're going to get that mixed precipitation around 8 to 10 inches potentially, once again south of US 50 most likely. So what we're overall watching is that snow is expected here in the Middle Ohio Valley. Ice is likely once again south of US 50, leading to potentially some power outages, and wind's not going to be the issue. Over the next 7 days, as you can see, that snow is going to continue Saturday and Sunday. Monday starts to dry out, but very cold, even lingering into Tuesday. And we're not going to be making it above freezing for the foreseeable future, Logan.